Bridget Jones is a 1996 novel which contributed to give birth to a fresh and brilliant kind of literature called chick lit, whose topics and stories are mainly addressed to young single power-hungry women. For this reason, it gained popularity in the 10 years to come. Helen Fielding is the author of the novel. She worked as a TV and press journalist. Indeed, the novel comes from the bright columns in the form of a personal diary on The Independent and the Daily Telegraph, marked out by the sarcastic criticism on the habits of the wealthy British society. Following the column's success, the texts were put together into an outright novel, which soon became a bestseller. In 2001, the novel was made into the homonym film with Renee Zellweger acting as Bridget Jones, the main character, with the collaboration of the British sex symbols Colin Firth and Hugh Grant. Bridget Jones is a 32-year-old single woman who works at the book publishing company in London. At a New Year party hosted by family friends, her mother tried to fix her up with a bachelor, Mark Darcy, a diverse successful lawyer, who she used to play with when she was a child. To Bridget, Mark looks like the typical mama's boy, wearing a nightmarish reindeer jumper, and moreover, he is rude and rejects her. That was the moment Bridget realizes to be a hopeless case, and she decided to start a diary with resolutions for the new year: lose weight, quit smoking and drinking, find a nice guy, and keep white bird from fascinating, disreputable guys just like her boss, Daniel Cleaver, to avoid ending up the following year in the same dramatic situation as a spinster without a good job. Unfortunately, Daniel starts flirting with her at work, and Bridget can't resist. At the Kafka's motorbike launch, Bridget bumps into Darcy, who looks like a new confident person, with Natasha, a thin, successful woman. That same night, Bridget has a date with Daniel, who tells her that he and Mark used to be friends. He had been his best man, but their friendship ended when Mark went to bed with his girlfriend. After dinner, Bridget ends up having sex with Daniel. They keep dating until Bridget goes to another family friend's party where she meets Mark, who warns her against Daniel. Hit by the doubt, Bridget goes to Daniel and surprises him with a naked woman, Lara, his American, thin and beautiful colleague. Bridget suffers the blow, but goes on and comes back to her good resolutions. But when Daniel tells her that he is going to marry Lara, she has an outburst and quits the job to work for a private television. Also, the new job starts with a failure. At a married couple's dinner hosted by a friend, she bumps again into Natasha and Mark, who unexpectedly takes her apart and tells her that he likes her very much just as she is, despite her vices. Bridget starts thinking that maybe she was wrong about Mark, who also helps her to get her own back from the failure at work, helping her to achieve an exclusive interview. Mark attends Bridget's birthday dinner with her friend. At the dinner, he shows his sunny side, sweet and friendly. Suddenly, Daniel breaks in. He is drunk and asks Bridget to come back with him, but Mark punches him in the face, and there is a fight. Bridget rejects both of them, Mark for what he did to Daniel in the past, and Daniel because she wants a better man. At Christmas, Bridget comes to know from the mother that Mark and Daniel falling out results from Daniel seducing Mark's wife. Now everything becomes clear to Bridget. She rushes to Mark's party, where she apologizes with him, and she tells him that she also likes him just as he is. An announcement of Mark's father interrupts them. Mark is going to move to New York. to work with Natasha, and they are going to get married. Bridget is broken-hearted again, and now she is sure that she will become a spinster and will die alone. To cheer up, her friends decide to take her on a journey in Paris, but by surprise, Mark comes back from New York to stay with her. He buys Bridget a new diary to write about their new life together, and they kiss each other under the snow. A new year has passed, and now everything is alright. Bridget has grown wiser. She has found a new gratifying job and an amazing man who really loves her. Between the book and the film, there are no significant differences for what concerns the plot, except for a dramatic turnout of events and the final. In the book, the relationship between Daniel and Bridget is not only a sex affair, they have a real relationship. Also, the relationship between Bridget and Mark is different. In the film, Mark is always rude with Bridget. Then he suddenly changes and tells her that he likes her, while in the book he is not so rude with Bridget. His behavior evolves gradually, and little by little it shows his interest in her. Bridget, in the film, seems to detest him until the moment he tells her that he likes her, while in the book she starts to be interested in him since the launch of Kafka's motorbike. In the film, Bridget's family situation is overlooked. Her mother finds a job with a television presenter, Julio. She starts an affair with him and leaves Bridget's father, but then she apologizes with her husband and comes back to him. In the book, Bridget's family situation is different and ever-present. The mother, Pamela, wants to be individually fulfilled. She leaves her husband, achieves to find a job as a television presenter, and in the end of the book she flies to Portugal with her partner, Julio, who had robbed her friends, including Mark's parent. In the book, Pamela's character is stronger. When she comes back to London and she has trouble with the police, she acts pretending that nothing has happened, and she comes back to her husband without even apologizing with him. Everything ends well thanks to Mark Darcy, that disappears for 1 month, causing Bridget suffering because she thought that he had abandoned her. Actually, Mark goes to Portugal to solve the situation that culminates at Christmas morning when Julio pops out in a spin at Bridget's house, threatening Pamela because she came back to her husband. But Mark goes there with the police that arrest him and solve the situation. In the happy ending, Mark takes Bridget to a luxury hotel for Christmas lunch. He explains to her what happened and tells her that he loves her. They finally show their feelings and spend a romantic night together in a suite. Apparently different from the book is the role of Tom, Sharon and Jude, Bridget's friend, because in the book they are ever present and like a family to her. The main topic that the author treats with their peculiar style on the borderline between sarcasm and comedy is women's hard life during the 90s, a period of post-feminism in which they feel awkward and they are torn in two because of the coexistence of the feminist will to establish themselves and the traditional values imposed by the narrow-minded, wealthy society. We find this topic in the behavior of Bridget's mother, but especially in the opposite vice of Bridget's friends. Jude, who wants a man to get married and urges Bridget to follow her heart, and Sharon, committed feminist, who tells her to only care about herself and forget about men, because they are inferior and worthless individuals. The novel has several analogies with Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice. In the book, Bridget compares Mark Darcy with Mr. Darcy, who is played in the BBC classic by Colin Firth, who has been strongly wanted by Helen Fielding to play Mark Darcy in her film. in order to recall the analogy. In the book, there are hilarious criticisms like those about Christmas presents and happily married couples. And there are also references to the historical context, like the bloody Chechen civil war between separatists and the Russian Federation, the establishment of the European Union, and the 90s. Despite different from the book, the film doesn't disappoint, since the screen adaptation by Helen Fielding herself, with the collaboration of Andrew Davies and Richard Curtis, maintains the plot of the novel, and it is able to reproduce Bridget's funny nature through comical situations. They've also been able to convey her free spirit and her anxieties, which are an integral part in the diary through the use of a voiceover that embodies her thoughts, and through the use of the datelines with their obsessive notes about the achievements regarding her solutions. The main message that the author has sent readers, and that has ensured the book to be loved both from women as for me, is that we shouldn't be influenced by neither the models that society imposes, nor by other people's opinion, because the only way to live a good life is to do what we believe is right for ourselves and accept ourselves just as we are, because everyone is special and extraordinary in its uniqueness.